went to Loyola High School here in Los Angeles. I went to Duke University on a football scholarship. I played for Steve Spurrier, one of the more famous football coaches, the old ball coach. I had a great experience at Duke. We won a conference championship. I was a starting player, so I got to really play at a high level. And because of that, I also have had 4 knee surgeries and 2 shoulder surgeries and all of that. But sports and athletics have always been really important to me. And then my first job out of college was, taking that Jesuit ethos of being a man for others. I went back and taught at my high school because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I wanted to give back. And so I was a teacher, U.S. history teacher, a Western Civ teacher, and I coached football and got involved in the drama program there. And then after a couple of years, decided to go to law school. And I went to law school, went to Loyola Law School here in Los Angeles. Never really thought being a lawyer was a fit, but you start something, so you finish it. And I was very blessed because I got to, out of law school, go work for 2 gentlemen, but one specifically, Mike Meyer, Mike Meyer is well known as kind of the guru of leasing as a lawyer. And so I got to see all these big leases for the 18 months I was a lawyer. And I also worked for a guy named John Whitacre, who was just really well known for getting things entitled. But I very quickly realized being a lawyer wasn't for me. I knew I was in trouble when I would be reading a letter of intent and a lease, or a letter of intent and a purchase and sale agreement, and I started to disagree with the business points. I said, oh, wait a sec. You're not a good lawyer if you're going to disagree with the business people on what they're supposed to be doing. So I got very lucky. And of course, my father's success, I got to interview with a bunch of people outside of the law. And it just kind of clicked. And I went to work for a gentleman named John Cushman. And this is when it was Cushman Realty. When Bank of America and Arco built B of A, it was then called B of A Plaza. It's now called City National Plaza. He was brought out to lease it. And then at some point had some dispute with C&W, and he started Cushman Realty April 1st, 1978. And he built that into a firm that was that became 10 offices, like 100 brokers. And I got to be his right hand, his chief of staff. So I did that for about 4 years. And in that time, we merged back with C&W, sold Cushman Realty back to Cushman Wakefield. So I got to see small brokerage. I got to see every kind of deal you could possibly imagine. And if anybody knows John, he goes 150 miles an hour. I mean, he's 150%. Sometimes that can cause a lot of havoc, but what it certainly does is it gets things done. And so at a very young age, fortunately, I was single because this would not have worked if I was married. He calls me the day before I started and said, meet me at Van Nuys Airport. We're going to Dallas and pack for a week. I'm like, okay. And we negotiated a big lease there. And it was, and we sold some big office buildings and got involved in some debt deals. So at around early 30s, I started to feel like I knew a lot, which was a dangerous thing. But the good thing was, as much as I had my father as a mentor, I wasn't working for him. There wasn't a family business. And somewhere around right after the merger, I was working for John, and John is always marketing. So I had a business card that said I was doing life science in South San Francisco because we had some clients there. I had a business card that said I was doing office in downtown San Diego. And none of it was untrue. We were in all those cities, and we were doing deals in all those cities. But when we merged back with C&W, I literally got a call from somebody in New York saying, okay, Chris, we don't understand your business cards. And, you're not focused. So what are the 5 or 6 blocks that you work in downtown Los Angeles? And I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out. So after about a year, I met an amazing woman, and she was a very powerful hospitality interior design firm. And she was a managing director there. I just said, I can't do this. I can't be a broker for 5 blocks in downtown LA. It's not what I want to do. And so I kind of wrote on a sheet of paper, and it's like, God, if I keep 5 clients if I have 5 clients I can count on, if I keep 5 of them and stay at C&W, I get less than 50% because somebody else there had a piece of those commissions. But if I could take 1 and keep 100% of the commission, I could probably live for a year. And so I went and pitched one of them, and it was a guy named Richard Schaefer, who was Oscar De La Hoya's right-hand guy. This was when Oscar was making lots of money in the ring. And I went in and I said, okay, how come there are Magic Johnson theaters, but there's no Golden Boy theaters? And Richard's like, that's a great idea. We hadn't even thought about it. Let me think. He goes, well, why don't you show me some property? I'm like, well, first of all, Richard, I didn't think you're going to go for the idea, so I don't really have a whole lot. He goes, and I said, but I have some in mind. And then he said, he goes, well, I'll tell you this, Oscar and I have been talking. We'd really like to find an office building to buy. I said, wow, that may be something I can do. And how life works, I literally walked out, went to my car and ran into a broker I had worked with. And I said, Dick Schnell. And I said to Dick, I said, hey, do you know of any office buildings? I'm kind of looking to buy one. He's like, I got an idea for you. And so we called this gentleman named Michael Barker, who had bought 626 Wilshire, and all these big plans of how I had to leave with a client and all that came down to telling my wife, I'm leaving C&W, but I got a deal. And she still wishes in our condo there that I had this cabinet where I had my Apple computer open. That's where this all started. And she never took a picture of it. She wishes she had. But it started with one deal. And it was my company. It was me. And I partnered ultimately with this gentleman, Michael Barker, who's been a tremendous mentor. And then through the years, started doing deals and got to be a part of some of these legends, but did not work with my father. And then 2005, my dad sold Catellus and took about a year to play golf and decided he didn't want to do that. And we took out a sheet of paper to start a company. And that was not the one based on technology. That came later. But we started to do some deals. And then my father got a call from the board at McGuire Properties right when the GFC was happening, saying, we're going to move on from Rob. Would you come in? And he said, only if my son joins me. And so we had an amazing, I don't say amazing necessarily in a good way, but amazing in the Chinese way of may your life be interesting. And I ended up leaving there. And I talk about this in a podcast, but we got the board that brought us in left because those boards sell their shares. They don't have the votes. We got a very professional board who did have a problem with Nelson and his son working there. And we had some conspiratorial people who were part of the old regime that my father did not terminate. And they made life very miserable, such to the point where my own father had to fire me because the board said, we'll be very fair and all that, but we don't want this, over some really not true things. But anyway, it was painful. I still remember that day very specifically. But then about 3 months later, he left, and we said, okay, let's start Rising Realty Partners and do it the way we want to do it.